Okay, yeah, welcome to another Siebel Friday. It's August 2023, and of course, we start as usual with the overview of what's new in Siebel 23.8. And let me just get into a slideshow here. And you can tell already by this slide, there's not much to talk about since 23.8 was a bug fix only release, so no new official features. There has been documentation updates, and one of these I would like to put forward because it's a very important utility that's related to workflows. And also the Tomcat gets seemingly regular security updates or version updates, let's say, which of course increase security. 9.076 is the version delivered with 23.8. So this workflow cleanup thing has been around, if I'm not mistaken. So going out on a limb here, maybe Brian or Kerry, you have more to say about this, but it has been included in 23.1 already. And it was only mentioned on Oracle support until 23.8, which the biggest change here is it's now in part of the documentation and database upgrade guide. And a customer asked me, do I need to run this after updating or not? And my answer was, after reading documentation, was it depends if you have any trouble with delivery, workspace delivery or rebasing related to workflows, then you should run it. So that's what I read from documentation. And it addresses an issue with the naming convention of workflow processes. So if you look into the SWFR proc table in earlier versions than 22.7 or 22.6 or earlier, really, then the workflow processes have two different names. There are two columns, name and proc_name. And I always get this wrong, but the proc name is the one without the version number, and the name is the one including the version number. That's a remnant of pre-IP17 or pre-workspace days. Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah, so
it's name is always name has to be unique on every repository object, but we previously allowed versioning outside of workspace for workflows, and so the process name would be the same, but then the name would have a revision number on it for each version, so that we could
so it's like :1, :2, etc.
Yeah,
appended.
So the one you could see in the app was the proc name,
right?
But that but behind the scenes there had, because it's part of the unique key for any repository. So for consistency, we stuffed the name plus a version in the proc name, or sorry, in the name.
Yeah, and so that was the case until 22.6 and changed in 22.7. So when you update from a version that is higher than 20.7, where the workflows were works-based or fully works-based, anything up to 22.6, and you update to 22.7 or higher, then you might not feel anything because you're lucky, or you might actually encounter errors during delivery or rebasing your workspaces. And to eliminate those issues, Oracle has created the WFCleanup Utility, which is now fully documented, and you're advised, or Oracle advises, to run it once after the monthly update. Is it correct to run it? It's only necessary to run it once after updating to, let's say, 23.8?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
You only have to run this once.
Yeah, not every update. Yeah. Okay, there's an let me bring up the bookshelf guide actually. So it's in the database upgrade guide. Interestingly enough, there's the whole. But it's not just related to upgrades. It's or not. I don't know if actually interesting question. Would that be reconciled during an upgrade to 23.8, or do you still have to run it?
I would think you would still have to run it. I'm not sure.
No.
Okay.
In theory, the upgrade process should handle it, but we'll have to. I think we should.
You're barely audible there, too far away.
Yeah, I
from
know my audio is a mess, but
Well-
yeah, we'll have to follow up with you.
Mhm. Okay, so but the information, the upgrade guide is related to the monthly update quite clearly from any of these versions to 22.7 or higher. So I will not read it aloud here, obviously, but that's a very nice explanation with details how to run it, and also details what happens in various states of the workflow. So if you have one that's, for example, completed, have multiple versions coming from, let's say, an upgrade situation, you still have multiple versions. And I know that these other versions get inactivated during the upgrade. And so this one, the version 2 in this case, it's completed. So it's the highest completed version. It will remain active. So inactive flag still no. And you notice that now the name and rock name column values are the same, following the naming convention, the new one. There's only one ever active version. And so that's what the utility basically does. It's all nicely explained here. And thanks, Brian and Kerry, for jumping in here. So definitely worth a read if you're worried about the workflows.
So it doesn't remove them then, right?
It does not.
Just
What?
set flags.
Sorry, say again.
It doesn't remove them from the repository, it just sets the flags, right?
Right.
It changes the name and proc name columns and sets the inactive flag if necessary.
Yeah, I remember when we did the upgrade, I had to go manually update all these things.
In very early upgrades, there was a section advising to inactivate or delete unneeded workflow versions, right?
Yep.
That is no longer necessary since a few years already, a few years back. Since the upgrade takes care of, if you upgrade, let's say, from IP15, the modern upgrade, let's say, to 23.8, it takes care of the workflows inactivating any unneeded version automatically. So you end up with still seeing those versions, but inactive. And then if I imagine running the workflow cleanup, it will keep them inactive. Anyway, just cares about the latest version and the naming. Okay, so yeah, that's a documentation update if there is any. There, on the Oracle forum, there was a discussion on the support forum about other documentation updates, and they are not quite clearly marked, the guides, that is, as revised. But check out the Oracle support forums for subtle corrections and updates. I think in every release you could say that, and not necessarily is the guide marked as revised.
Can I give real quick a little insight into that? If we just fix a minor bug, we're not going to say the guide was revised. It's largely going to be marked as revised when there's like a new feature or a major update. If I mean, for example, I had a doc bug that I processed today, sent to our doc team where there was literally a URL with an extra character at the end. We're going to update that guide, but we're not going to tell you about it.
Sure.
Right? So just FYI, on why you don't see it. The other thing is you should now, for the last couple of months, any bug logged by or coming out of an SR from a customer or partner should show up in the monthly update guide for that release.
Yeah.
Where they were not previously. Before, we were only showing product issues that were fixed. Now, if it's a customer log documentation defect, we also now show those. So if you do look in the actual monthly update guide itself, you would see any doc bugs that were address, but only external ones. We don't post all the internal stuff because
okay,
I
but
mean,
it's
it
still
might be from an internal draft that you never would have seen anyway. So
yeah. So but it still wouldn't show up here in the what's new section.
right, unless it's something major like this one.
Yeah,
The one you were just showing was a major thing, so it's there.
Yeah.
But like, if we just fix a typo or stuff like that, we're not going to update that.
Right. Yeah. I just a discussion that was about system preferences being added to the guide, and obviously important to know. And so I was trying to figure out where exactly in the guide.
Yeah, look in the monthly update guide.
Yeah, but
And
still,
anything that it should be.
yeah, the bug number, very often the bug is not visible so you can't make out the guide, or the guide, or if the bug is visible, it doesn't mention exactly what section or chapter or what has been corrected or what has been added. So it might just be me trying, I'm an avid bookshelf reader for obvious reasons.
Okay, that's fair. On a side note, we haven't done this yet. The bug descriptions in our monthly update guide are written from the point of view of there is a problem. But then if they appear in the monthly update guide, it's because we fixed it. So we need to we're working on an initiative to start having our product managers kind of rewrite the title so that it comes out as something more friendly and explains that it's fixed, not still broken. So we can ask that for bookshelf guides that we maybe identify at least a chapter or something.
Yeah. It's fine by me. I mean, you can compare the PDFs, for example, and quickly find out where where anything happened. Okay, thanks, Brian, for this. And yeah, with this, I would like to go forward, looking into September already. In a few days will be September, and in September, end of September, is actually the first Applications Unlimited Day in Europe, which Oracle has announced a while ago, and we have on the Siebel Hub as well. And Zurich has been added recently to the official list of Siebel events. So if you have looked at it a while ago, you might have seen Zurich doesn't include Siebel, but now Zurich includes Siebel CRM. And the Siebel Hub team, Richard and I, we plan to be at least one of us on every of these events, or most of the time the two of us. So if you're in Europe or planning to travel to the beautiful continent in the fall, then yeah, we're happy to say hello. And I would like to hand over to Richard Spearman a little bit to say a few words about this.
Thanks very much, Alex. Yes, we're planning to hold these events throughout September, October, and November in Europe, and we're just working on finalizing the agenda for each location at the moment. The plan is much like last year, so we're going to have some presentations around the Apps Unlimited products in general, but we're also going to have some breakout sessions for each of the products. So we're hoping to have customer presentations around Siebel, and also some talks, some presentations, and perhaps some demonstrations as well around the products and some of the new features that have been released, and some that we are hoping to have ready and available to talk about by the time the events come around. So it should be a good series of events. Please register. I'm told that not all of the registration pages at the moment have a Siebel track that you can register for, but don't worry about that. Register for something else, or just drop us a note and let us know. But please get your registrations in. We would love to see customers there and partners as well. So thank you.
If I may, thank you, Richard. If I may ask something, if you allow me, Alex.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. We are going also to have several customers present their story. So if you are interested in speaking about your story, you can also drop us a note, and then we can arrange that. And it must not be, let's say, a revolution that you want to present. Maybe you have moved from a Siebel on-premise to OCI, or you have done a difficult upgrade, we can discuss about that. You can present us. It must not be a huge presentation. It can be 10, 15 minutes where you discuss about your case and you present the situation. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Angelos and Richard, for sharing the details on this. I've just pasted the link to the Oracle registration page in the chat. So click the link, register. It has details down here if you scroll down on every event and the dates and venues. So a great chance to meet fellow customers, partners, of course, the Oracle team and the Siebel App team. So that's going to be a great time. Okay, yeah, that's just a slide that tells me I have to stop here. So I'm not going to, and I'm going to anyway, talk about why still update. No, I've already done this. And it's, of course, the latest release is the best release, really. So that's the short. And now let me switch to my test machine. So this looks not like regular Siebel. This is the OpenUI course image, by the way. If you take a Siebel OpenUI training, you learn how to make Siebel look like this, and even better. Just in the middle of some course. And you all, if you're regular on Siebel Friday, you know devpops, which recently got the major update to use the shoelace framework to render the menus, etc. And I'm working on the new version, so I picked up a discussion really with a customer, and the discussion was about using the REST API again. So REST API is really cool. And it's the Cloud Gateway REST API again. And that Cloud Gateway REST API is used by an application we all know, the Siebel Management Console. So whenever you see data like this, or you go to a profile like the application interface profiles, there are REST calls being made. You can visualize them in the browser developer tools, and so. For example, you would go to the AI profile, or the administrator of that customer does it, and go to the logging area, and then set the log level, for example, the UI log level of the AI. And let's set that to warning. And then comes the cruncher when you click submit. And any of your object managers that you have on the second page are not online, you can't save it, because the SMC requires that the object manager mentioned here is actually online. So that annoyed my friend, the administrator. And I said, it doesn't happen. I know from my work at using the containers, the Siebel containers, where I've done another video on this, by the way, that the container examples from Duncan Ford, they use the Gateway REST API to create an AI profile at a time where there's absolutely no Siebel server. So when you use the REST API, you can just, well, create or even update a profile without the Siebel server operational. And it's just about, I want to set a log level. Maybe the Siebel server is down anyway. So what I did was use the Gateway REST API and create, with the help of Shoelace, create something that is a useful quick check application. So it reads the profile, the current profile. You see warning, it says warning here. And well, of course, you can set it to a higher level or to a lower level. So let's set it high information. And you can also see the other levels where there's SOAP inbound, CalDAV, REST inbound. There are also 2 levels outbound, which I think they're not really operational because the AI doesn't do any outbound REST or outbound SOAP. But now you submit this, and it updates the profile, and it will show multiple profiles if you have multiple AIs using different profiles. So you can tap, it will show tabs. And let's see if it really changed that. So let me just reload this. And yeah, went to information. So it's a UI where there's already a UI, but I told you a reason for it is using the REST API, you can have some of your components down and still update the profile. So that's something I've worked on. And any thoughts about this? Any comments?
I think it's very useful. You don't have to go into SMC to do this.
Yeah, SMC definitely. You don't have to go to SMC, and you also you can save or update the profile even if component is not online, which is this very administrator I'm talking about was very annoyed about because he kept getting errors on saving. Yeah, it's just literally a proto. The usual devpops license applies. It's by no means meant for any production grade or mission critical system. Another thing I thought was useful is, well, there's a log file associated with that level, like the REST inbound default. And to see what is the log file associated with that, took a little bit of digging there, and click it, and see it in the browser. Okay, now you shouldn't be able to do this without creating a sort of link, a symbolic link in Linux, or a directory link in Windows. So you see I placed the link to the log files in the SMC folder. So it's highly risky and you shouldn't do it. So it was just you literally testing the waters. Is it possible? And so the log file is still in the original place, but there's a link to the logs folder reachable by Tomcat. And yeah, took this a little bit further to create a log viewer, which is a simple HTML page which opens a bunch of these files. And it has not only is listing those files, which would be fairly straightforward, it's also parsing the text, which slows it down considerably. It's not fun. And so you see that you can highlight some text which is important, like error. This contains an error message here. And let me just run another utility you already know. It's already live. The dependency finder. It creates a lot of REST requests in parallel. So let's do this for the account business component and find dependencies. And let's check out the log viewer. And you will see the logs being updated by the server, and the page refreshes. There you see them coming. You see them requests coming in the log files. Yeah. So just take a few more moments. I think every 10 seconds or so it's updating. Yeah, it's another one. And it's a buffered write, I think, what that Tomcat does. And you see you get some 404s here in the access log, which is not a problem. There's just no data for this, but 404, it could be a problem. Or a 500, or you could highlight that. So it's something I carry around for a long time. And I've just put it on these log files here. So it came back now, of course, and I don't need to talk much about the dependency finder, which is already live. I've already shown it, but just used it to show you the log viewer here, and it's definitely slowing down. Yeah, yeah, it's not perfect, but by any means, please, yeah, share any feedback, or is that's a poor man's log viewer, if there is any such thing.
This is amazing as always, Alex. Great job.
Thanks. Thanks much. Okay. Needless to say, if you have very large log files, this thing is useless, but clean them out every now and then. Okay, that's the current devpops state of work. Maybe the September release will have a good version of that. And let me check my notes. Oh yeah, got another sneak preview for you. So sneak preview day. Let me just briefly go to GitHub. And yeah, blacksheep CRM GitHub. I'm sure you've all been there and downloaded devpops. I got another repository there, which is the Siebel app. And that Siebel app you can download for free. It's under MIT license and is absolutely, yeah, educational. So don't use it. It is again about the REST API. And I've done as much as I could as a front-end developer. So I'm definitely not a front-end developer. And it looks like this. I think I've demonstrated it before. So it takes a real Siebel username. And that's not Siebel. You're looking at an HTML page with jQuery and JavaScript, some CSS. And it uses the Siebel REST API in a slightly clever way with a model. So you can view any exposed business object on the data API. It's just a little bit slow, but there you go. Accounts, you can search them, contacts, and well, leads, just another label for opportunities. So that's all I could muster with Shoelace.js, and I'm happy with it. Looks nice. It's a nice demo for my training classes when I teach the REST API. It's nice to have a working demo. You can create an app with a few kilobytes of JavaScript, and it will render the Siebel data like this. And I've taken it up a little bit with the help of a front-end developer to use the Vue.js framework, the well-known JavaScript framework. And that's going to be the next version. But it's going to be a separate version because it's based on Vue.js, so the code is completely different. But the look and feel is slightly the same, so we kept that here. So that's the tablet view of the new app. So there's a menu right to do the navigation. And yeah, session was timed out. And so I'm looking at accounts here. Let's see if the search works. Yeah, anything with AB in the name. And since you just don't want to look at data, and I had a nice discussion with Florian. Yeah, you're here, right, Florian? Just this afternoon. What would be a nice use case for this? And Florian told me, I hope it's okay to tell the public here. Florian told me that he has a user group. Or Florian, do you want to say it or?
No, you just do it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Florian has a user group who are infrequent users of Siebel, and once they log in, let's say every few months or so, they struggle. And they keep struggling because they forget everything, you know, probably my age group. And so a simpler to use application for just a simple use cases would be great for these users because all they do is look at some data and maybe export it to Excel, which is, yeah, sadly enough, the truth for many users. And so it could be easy to add an export button here, literally. And the app is not just listing the data, which is easy enough. You can also edit, so you can expand and press a little button. And well, the real Siebel test is can it pull the list of values? And of course it can, using a nice RESTful service. So let's set that to another one and save it. And there you go, changes have been saved. So that's all the app could do, but it's a model-based app, so you have it practically in the final form. There will be a page, an admin page, where you can edit the model and add any business object, component, and fields to this app. So it's generic. It can access anything the REST API can access or allows to access can be visualized here. And not stopping here, it could display a dashboard with some charts, etc. Okay, so yeah, that's another project working on, and I'm working with a very talented young lady who is a Vue developer, Vue.js, a real front-end developer, and she has no idea how Siebel looks. She has never seen Siebel. All she got from me was the old code with the REST calls and a little bit of intro to the Siebel REST API using Postman. But it was good to see that she was happy enough with that, and she was able to produce this app. And Richard comes with a chat message that you can see. Yeah, that don't forget that accessing data through the APIs generally requires the same licenses as if you've been using the Siebel UI. Okay. And we're happy to look for creative low-cost options with you. Okay, thanks, Richard, for pointing that out. And again,
sorry to put my sales hat on, but yes.
Oh, that's of course very important, very, very important to say. And also, again, with the danger of repeating myself and boring you to death, is that all of the code you get from Blacksheep GitHub is strictly educational, and you should check if it requires any licenses, etc. Yeah, it's just educational code.
Alex, can I just come in?
Yeah, Kieran.
Yeah, just what you were showing there, we've actually done this for new home pages for our in-house users. So it is licensed, Richard, using the same technology, and it's been transformative. It's really worth doing and looking at. We've just rolled it out recently. We did a gradual rollout and we've rolled it out across the business. And so the landing homepage is now a view screen, and they see all the relevant information in a nice place, whether it's their team and whatever. In fact, it's sort of better than using the old analytics in real time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That sounds great.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
I wish I could take credit for it, but it wasn't myself. I did a bit of work on it because we've used AI. We had to create a new AI component with single sign-on.
Okay, and it's a standalone application. It's not Siebel, right?
No, it's in Siebel.
It's in Siebel, but uses REST.
Yeah, it uses REST, and I'm pretty certain it uses Vue or whatever it's called. And we're building new pages using that framework, and it's very flexible.
Okay, yeah, well, sure. And one thing I cannot stress enough of the Siebel REST API is you're extending the ones, even if you run it inside Siebel, just like the dependency finder. Is really the best example for this. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Want to tidy up. So if I run this, it fires off 20 separate queries in parallel, which are all coming back asynchronously. And that means 20 sessions on the EI object manager for one user. And you don't get that with the regular object manager. You can't do it.
Yeah, but they're pretty quick because we were concerned about that, and so we've been monitoring that, and
they're super fast. So that's
that's the key. We've got a low timeout on them, and when last month we gave it to all of the business. Me and a colleague had a discussion, James, who you know quite well, about whether we'd need to increase that, and we did have enough, and we left it when we just monitored it closely. And with over 1,000 session users on there at a time, because people have multiple tabs, it's in the 80 to 120 at any point.
Okay. So so you're performance-wise, this is not the EI object manager is very swift in taking these REST calls, processing them. Yeah, so enhancing your Siebel with REST is and Vue.js or any modern framework is, of course, always a great idea. And yeah, Kieran, if you allow, maybe I'll reach out to you and maybe we'll have, if you want to, a presentation next Siebel Friday.
Well, it wouldn't be myself. James isn't in next week. I'll speak to the developer.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you've
sweat.
worked. You've spoken to him before. It was him and James who did the demonstration on our take on the devpops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. And a great topic always. I'm getting excited really when talking about this. There are some numbers here which are not representational. 2.3 seconds query time for this one, which is of course on a very large integration object on repository data. So might be, but I've seen responses under 500 milliseconds easily.
I've just remembered now why we implemented the single sign-on EI object manager. So when you do this using the normal EI object manager, if you do an update to a record, the update will be stamped as a generic user. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. You have if the user is supposed to do updates, they must, and this runs inside Siebel, then of course a single sign-on mechanism to the AI to the EI object manager is a must.
Yeah, and that's why we did it. I was just struggling for a minute to remember why we'd gone to that.
Right. Yeah. So this one just queries data, so it's you can use the anonymous user for that. And of course, if the data is supposed to be user specific, like few modes, my accounts, etc., then you must have single sign-on. Yeah. There is a demo on YouTube where there is a dashboard I created, very similar to what you describe. It's part of the OpenUI training, and that dashboard you can mock it up, but creating an SSO EI object manager is not too complicated because you're inside Siebel already. You know who the user is. Now they're authenticated already. Yeah. Speaking of which, so the Siebel Hub YouTube channel, which of course you're frequently using. So since last Siebel Friday, there was only one video which was added, the REST API 23.7 update, REST API again. So is there any other topic? And the 23.8, of course, very short update summary, which you have seen. And let me just look into playlists because I recently created new or updated playlists which have been stale. Speaking of OpenUI, let's go into this playlist because that's where the RESTful dashboard example is, which is using that SSO approach. So it shows data for a given account, but of course the visibility must be in the user. So yeah, let me maybe put that into your chat so you can refer to it later. So just to make the browsing of the channel a little bit easier, I've created these playlists. And yeah, because we have over 200 videos right now, and yeah, close to 2,000 subscribers, which is of course a great number. And thanks to the vibrant Siebel community. Speaking of community, there's another page I would like to share with you, where we have the I don't have a new poll this time this month, but if you haven't participated in these polls, let me check out the admin page here. Yeah, here you see the same polls but with numbers. So yeah, if you haven't taken a poll recently, just maybe click the bar which is closest to your situation to inform others The last one we did was on Apache Kafka, celebrating the 23.6 update, and there's an open UI poll. So that custom app that connects to Siebel REST API, 10% of the respondents are already actively doing that to provide a great UX to the users. So, and speaking of Siebel Hub, we have, well, you know where the Siebel Hub is, but recently we were working on new modules. So there's the always up-to-date guarantee on the Siebel Hub. That means when there's new content worthy of a module or an extension, then we create that module and we add it to the existing course. So if you subscribe to the full course, you get these modules. And currently we have 4 new modules since 23.5. We have Cloud Manager, the event publication with Kafka, the upgrade factory, and the most recent addition is the container deployment. So that is actually what is formerly known as ARU, the automated release update, with the location where you download the containers. And Oracle has made the containers generally available for download on Oracle support and published a bookshelf guide. And when there's a bookshelf guide, there's always a prompt for us that something major has happened, and we create a module on that. You can also purchase these modules separately. I know, shameless sales plug here. And if you're a gold member on the Siebel Hub, you see the reduced price. Yeah.
And I can give you another plug actually, because I did watch that video on the modules and using it not in OCI, you know, the generic one, and I found it a really good watch actually, the container one. Okay,
thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for the feedback. So yeah, that's news here on the Siebel Hub training page, and yeah, please check it out frequently. And I also want to show you one more page, which is the continuous updates page. It's completely public, and it links together all those Siebel versions over the years. We started in 22.2. We started that, so yeah, 1.5 years worth of information related slightly to our training, but more to the new features. So whenever you want to see, for example, 23.8, the WFCleanup Utility has been documented, and there's a link to the video where we describe the feature. It's either just an update summary, so it's just one slide or so, or it's a separate video. But all these videos are free. If it says update summary or YouTube channel, just you land on the YouTube channel, and it's impressive to me how much this list has grown over the past months. So I edit it every month and say, oh wow, this thing is really like REST APIs. It's one page already. So yeah, do check it out. It's the link is in the chat, and it's a great starting page for anybody preparing for an update. Let's say you're on 22.12 or any older version or newer version, and you're planning to do updates. Then this is a good start. And did I say it's free? Okay. So yeah, that's it for let's say for my notes. So we still have a little bit of time. So if you have any topic you want to chat about.
Real quick one. This one's kind of for Brian. Do you know when they're going to fix the PDF to show the revised topics in the index?
I think we talked about this earlier. If there's a major change, then we'll show that it's been revised. If it's just like fixing minor things, then we typically won't mark it as revised. And I also mentioned earlier if there's a customer found documentation issue or it came out of an SR, then those would be included in the monthly update guide itself. The bug would be listed there, indicating which guide was updated and so forth.
No, it's more the bookshelf itself. When you do HTML online, it shows which topics are revised with the little red parent stuff. But in PDF,
right.
it doesn't.
I know.
I think Nick refers to when you
that's-
download the PDF bookshelf as a zip, and then you look at the homepage that it doesn't say revised. Correct, Nick?
Right.
Yeah.
There's a problem with our publishing system. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to fix that. Like it's out. Yeah, obviously it's not like someone's forgetting to do it or anything. It's some issue with the publication system that's unable to do that. I don't know what it is, but I have raised it to our documentation team to try to address it. But they don't. The people we work with don't actually do the publication; they just make the physical changes, and so they have to go work with another team to try to fix it. But I don't know if they're ever going to be able to fix it. It's like 2 groups away from me.
So
okay.
For now, I also found that Nick. I found the same thing with I frequently use the PDF. But then again, on the online homepage or online guide listing, there's the revised flag.
Yeah, I know that.
And the little trick
on my PC, I don't hook up to the network.
I know when you use the PDF search, Nick, a little trick. Do a search across the directory and search for 23.8 or the version number.
Oh, okay.
And we'll come up with the what's new chapters because they have the version number as a header.
Okay, cool.
So
thank you.
That's a little trick.
Work.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else? So
I've just a couple of things that people may or may not find useful, but it'll only take a couple of minutes that I've discovered or learned over the past couple of months. So I'll just mention them.
Yeah, sure.
If you are using multi-tab for your internal users, which we do, we've been getting a lot of complaints for quite a while about stability of the system. And what it boiled down to is if you have the browser setting for the tabs going to sleep to save processing, Siebel does not like your tabs going to sleep. You will lose your sessions. And if you're clicking between sessions and you leave them for a long enough period that the tab goes to sleep, which might be much shorter than your timeout, when they click back, you get cookie errors. And the fix it's not a Siebel problem. It's your browser tabs going to sleep. And, I was going around and people were showing me this. They could reproduce it. And it was nice to get that fixed. In the same vein, because we were getting crashes, but we were not getting FDR files. And then I had to raise a call with Siebel, and then we didn't really get very far. And they said it's an Oracle crash. And then I managed to find an article after digging around that was so similar, and it turned out to be true that I can't remember the exact point version, but of Oracle of 12.x, probably 12.2. It stops the FDR, creating the FDR files. The Oracle crash handler is intercepting them. So you can go along for quite a long time thinking your system's perfectly stable unless you start looking for Windows dump files. And if you put 3 lines into your SQLnet.org, you then start getting your FDR files appearing again.
Oh, okay. So that's related to the database then.
Oh, well, it's the Oracle client that is intercepting it on the server. So that is doing the crash handling before the Siebel crash handler can kick in. So you do not get an FDR file. And so you can think you've got no problems. So I just thought I'd mention it because if anyone's having these types of issues, they're the types of things that, you have to raise an SR, and then I didn't get a straight answer and I had to dig around. And then when I found it, I was like, I wish I'd known this a year ago.
So SQLnet.aura is the file where you need to edit.
Yeah, these 3 settings in there.
Not sure if you see it on your screen, but I'm taking notes just to keep this for
I found it useful, so I just thought I'd mention it because if other people having similar issues, they might find either of those pieces of information useful.
That's great stuff. Yeah. So thanks, Kieran. Yeah. Thank you very much for this. Yeah, this is what the Siebel Friday is all about. You know, it's an informal chat, a geek out. And I see a question in the chat from Alok. Hey, Alok. What is the timeline for microservices architecture, and will that be optional alongside SES architecture? So that's a question for Brian, probably.
I can't give you a timeline on something that's in the future that far away.
Yeah, sure enough.
My Oracle revenue recognition team would have me fired.
Yeah, I was expecting that answer. Yeah. So what can we get from that answer? Still in the works, actively worked on Siebel components?
It's still on our, I mean, it's still on our strategy. It's in our strategy deck, and it's in our, in our statement of direction. So it's somewhere we're still going, but it's timelines I can't share.
Yeah, sure enough.
I'm not allowed to share anything that's, not within the next quarter or so.
And the official name is still Siebel Component Services Architecture.
No,
SCS,
that's
no?
different than microservices in a sense.
Or is that what Alok referred to? The component services,
Well, no, microservices to me is more of just the ability to fall into very specific small services and get very fast responses back.
Yeah, I think Alok was
very,
referring
very
to
simplified definition.
I think Alok
so,
was referring to SCS, the component service.
But if you're talking about SCS, then you're talking about Siebel Component Services. That was really more about kind of making Siebel a little bit more of a cloud native thing. Now, I would consider microservices to be part of that, but it's not. But SCS would include things like auto scaling up and down your number of services that you have running, or
each
number of
server component being a pod separate.
Right, its own thing. Whereas a microservice, I consider a smaller level thing, where it's just saying like, oh, I just need this tiny piece of data, and I want to be able to make a very, very fast call to Siebel and get it back. So they do very specific. Microservices are tied to a very specific piece of functionality.
Yeah.
Which eliminates the need for the monolithic repository.
Yeah. Alok confirms here my thoughts. Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking of microservices, I always say that Siebel is microservice architecture since Siebel 2000, the introduction of business services.
In a sense.
That's exactly what you described. Now, having a small piece of functionality that responds very quickly. And
right, but the idea is to get rid of the monolithic
container
repository that's needed for a given. Right now you've got to go through EAI, for example, and EAI is going to load like tons of stuff from the repository. But if you need something very specific, you don't need all of that. You don't need to have the entire cache of LOVs in there, and there's a bunch of stuff you don't need if you just have a very simple question.
You don't need to load Siebel Sales Enterprise application, which the EI object manager does by default.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to have that entire application to be able to have smaller objects that are self-contained in some way.
Yeah, that's
so when I think about microservices, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, sure. That's but until that comes out, we have business services which serve us really well for now. Okay, thanks, Brian, for taking this question from Alok. Okay.
Just one follow-up question, means Alok to Alok maybe. So when you are saying that you need microservices architecture, we understand that there are a lot of things in the microservices architecture. Now, but from the performance perspective, is it mainly from the performance perspective you are looking at, or what exactly is the area, or the monolith that Brian was talking about, or everything? And then there is one more piece, that there is a lot of user interface that is built in the application object manager, and having that one scaling up and down, or because microservices will not have any user interface as such. There is someone else has to build that one using those microservices. So is that all of those? I think it's a pretty lengthy topic. Not sure if we have time.
Well, I'll throw in very quickly my 2 cents. I'm sorry you weren't asking me, but I do need to drop pretty soon. But the way I always envisioned it is that if we could deploy a business service with only the object layer components that business service needed, then we could then have a truly lightweight Siebel-based microservice.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
And then the user interface is outside of that microservice, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, but you could create a UI on top of those services like you can today already, like Kieran mentioned that. You know, creating a dashboard that runs in the Siebel UI, but uses, well, RESTful services for the time being. Same concept, right? Just thinking out loud.
Correct. And you see, and you know, I think with microservices, are we really downplaying the user experience? Means what exactly is needed on the user experience perspective? Because there is a lot of work in that area also. If you want better user adoption. So anyways, I think it's a lot of things are there in all these ones. But this is the first time I'm joining, and Alex, really like what you shared today. Really, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Himanshu. Welcome. And yeah.
Just maybe by way of a quick introduction, for those who don't know Himanshu already, Himanshu owns our customer order management product and the telecommunications product, and I believe UCM. So he is the product manager for that. I kind of extended with Alex's permission, invites to some of the other product managers who may want to just hang out and listen to these calls. It's always a great opportunity for all of us to be able to hear customer points of view. So you may be seeing more Oracle Siebel product managers in the coming months. I had a quick question, Alex. You showed this in your poll, and at the moment, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. My mic's been bad, but okay. You showed the event pub sub poll, but I was wondering if people on this phone call who might actually be using it and might be interested in talking about it more, or feel they need more information about it. There will be a Cloud Customer Connect on that next Thursday.
Oh yeah, that was on LinkedIn. Just
so for those of you who are interested in that, I recommend it. It will be hosted by Kumaresh Bashi, which is one of the gentlemen on my team who owns that particular product area. So he'll be talking about it in detail and giving a demonstration of it. So anyone who's got some interest in that may want to attend that. If I can find the URL, I'll drop it in the chat if you don't mind.
Yeah, please go ahead. I was looking for it unsuccessfully. It's on LinkedIn. John Bedford posted it.
Yeah, and I don't know where. I had the link. It's like, here it is. Chat. So for anyone who is interested, go ahead and click there. I mean, you just need a Cloud Customer Connect account. For those of you who don't have one, if your company, as long as your company has some cloud product, they'll let you in. If not, then let John Bedford know, and he can work around it. It's bizarrely only open by default to people who have some cloud product. I don't know why they care, because they'll let anyone in if we ask, but that's how it is. But yeah, anyway, so I recommend that. That was one thing I wanted to quickly kind of advertise a little bit.
Yeah, sure. That's a great event. I'm already registered.
Yep. Yeah, I saw a number of people have already registered. So I'm looking. I'll be there as well. I'll probably just hang out on the Q&A panel and answer low-hanging fruit. But I'll have to leave the really tricky stuff to Kumaresh, to be honest. But anyway, just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Thanks for popping this in, and always welcome. And please, like Brian said, please feel free. You don't have to ask permission or whatever. Please forward the Zoom link and the dates to anybody you think who's even remotely interested in in attending an informal chat like this one. The more the merrier, and I'm grateful to all of you who joined and take the time on a Friday morning / evening / late evening to talk about Siebel, and was a very lively Siebel Friday, very lively discussion. I'm very happy and hope you are too. So if there's nothing else, I'm scanning the chat, but there's nothing else coming up.
One quick one.
One quick one. Okay.
Before your next session, there will be an Oracle Cloud World. So stay tuned to the Oracle Cloud World, which is a very premium event happening in Las Vegas. If you are going there, enjoy. And yes.
Yeah, sure. Cloud World is coming up. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So next Siebel Friday will probably be a hard one for me because I'm in Zurich, traveling home. I will announce in due course if I do one or in some other format. So there might or might not be a September Friday, but there will be October from what I can see from now. Okay. Nick has a question in the chat. Dynamically changing the applet label based on some buscomp like parent. Okay, Nick, that was one we worked on, right? Together.
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to get to the BizComp, call it BizComp for OpenUI yet.
Okay.
I can't find anything out there to do it.
Yeah, we can take this up, or if you want to, Nick, as later today or anytime. So I'll reach out to you.
Okay.
And yeah, with that.
Because I got the other one working fine, but.
Okay, so there's a demo coming up, so definitely.
Okay, I'll wait for the demo.
on the next, well, I mean on the next Siebel Friday, one of the next Siebel Fridays. Okay, so with that, thank you everybody very much for joining. Have a great remaining Friday. See you around. Take care.